Welcome to Majestic Grove channel. Before we start, please like and subscribe. It will help channel a lot. The Colosseum stands as a monument to a bygone era. It was a stage for spectacle and savagery. Here, gladiators fought and died for the entertainment of Roman citizens. These warriors, often slaves or prisoners of war, captivated the imaginations of millions. They were symbols of courage, skill, and the fragility of life. Gladiatorial combat was more than just mindless violence. It was a complex social phenomenon. The games reflected Roman values, beliefs, and anxieties. Gladiators in their own right became heroes, celebrities, and even sex symbols. Their lives and deaths continue to fascinate us today. From the blood-soaked sands of the arena to the pages of history books, the story of the gladiators is a compelling one. It is a story of human drama, political intrigue, and the enduring power of spectacle. Join me as we journey back in time to explore the rise and fall of gladiators, those legendary warriors of the Roman arena. Their story is a window into a world both familiar and profoundly different from our own. It is a world of glory and despair, of cruelty and compassion, and of the eternal human struggle for survival and recognition. The origins of gladiatorial combat are shrouded in mystery and debate. While the Romans are famous for their arenas and spectacles, the roots of gladiatorial combat predate the Roman Empire itself. Historians generally agree that these brutal displays originated with the Etruscans, a civilization that flourished in ancient Italy before the rise of Rome. Etruscan culture placed significant emphasis on rituals surrounding death and the afterlife. Among these rituals were munera, ceremonial combats held in honor of deceased nobles. These early forms of gladiatorial combat were not the massive spectacles they would later become. They were smaller, more intimate affairs, often held near the tomb of the deceased. As Rome expanded its power and influence, it absorbed many elements of Etruscan culture, including the practice of gladiatorial combat. The Romans, however, had a particular talent for spectacle and social engineering. They recognized the potential of these bloody contests to entertain the masses and reinforce their own power. Over time, gladiatorial combat evolved from a solemn religious rite into a form of public entertainment. The games grew larger, the fighters more skilled, and the crowds more bloodthirsty. This transformation marked the beginning of a phenomenon that would grip the Roman world for centuries. The world of gladiatorial combat was surprisingly diverse. It wasn't just a chaotic free-for-all. There were different classes of gladiators, each with their own unique weapons, armor, and fighting style. These classifications added an element of strategy and anticipation to the games. Some of the most popular types included the murmillo, heavily armored warriors who fought with a gladius, a short sword, and a large rectangular shield. Then there were the retiarius, lightly armed gladiators who relied on speed and agility, armed with a net and trident, trying to entangle and then finish off their opponents. The threx were another crowd favorite, wielding a small curved sword called a sica and a small shield. Their agility and unique weapons made them formidable opponents. These are just a few examples of the diverse array of gladiatorial classes. The Romans were meticulous record keepers, and their detailed mosaics and writings provide a glimpse into the wide range of gladiatorial combat styles. This diversity ensured that the games remained exciting and unpredictable, drawing massive crowds eager to witness the clash of different fighting techniques. Gladiators were not simply thrown into the arena with weapons and expected to fight to the death. They were professional fighters who underwent rigorous training in specialized schools known as ludi. Life in the Ludus was harsh and demanding, governed by strict discipline and a constant threat of punishment. The training regimen was designed to push recruits to their physical and mental limits. Gladiators trained for hours each day, honing their skills with weapons, developing their strength and stamina, and learning how to fight strategically. The instructors, often former gladiators themselves, were brutal taskmasters. They understood that survival in the arena depended on flawless technique and unwavering focus. Despite the brutality of their training, gladiators were not mere killing machines. They were valuable assets to their owners, and their health and well-being were of paramount importance. Gladiators received regular medical attention, their diets were carefully monitored, and they were even given time for rest and recreation. Life in the Ludus was a strange mix of brutality and camaraderie. Gladiators faced death together, and this shared experience created a powerful bond between them. They formed friendships, rivalries, and even romantic relationships within the confines of their training school. This complex social dynamic added another layer of intrigue to the world of gladiatorial combat. The Colosseum awaits inside the arenas of ancient Rome. The Colosseum is the most iconic of Roman arenas, but it was just one of many such structures scattered throughout the Roman Empire. These arenas were marvels of engineering, designed to accommodate tens of thousands of spectators. They were more than just venues for gladiatorial combat. They were symbols of Roman power and entertainment. Stepping inside a Roman arena on the day of a gladiatorial contest was overwhelming. The air thick with anticipation, the roar of the crowd deafening. The scent of blood, sweat, and fear hung heavy. The arena floor, covered in sand to absorb the blood, was the stage for the day's events. Surrounding the arena were tiered seating arrangements. The best seats were reserved for the emperor. The common folk packed the upper levels, eager for a glimpse of the action. Beneath the arena floor lay the hypogeum, housing gladiators, wild animals, and stage props. It was a hive of activity before and during the games. Spectacle and slaughter, the Gladiatorial Games. The Gladiatorial Games were not simply about violence and bloodshed. They were carefully orchestrated spectacles designed to entertain and amaze the Roman populace. A typical day at the Games might begin with a display of exotic animals. Lions, tigers, elephants, and other creatures captured from the far reaches of the empire were paraded before the crowd. Next came the executions. Criminals and enemies of the state were put to death in a variety of gruesome ways, often involving wild animals or elaborate stagecraft. These executions were a stark reminder of the power of Rome and the consequences of defying its authority. Finally, it was time for the main event, the gladiatorial combat. Gladiators, often paired based on their fighting styles and experience, would enter the arena to the cheers of the crowd. The atmosphere was electric, a mix of excitement, anticipation, and morbid curiosity. The crowd played an active role in the games. They cheered for their favorites, jeered at the losers, and sometimes even influenced the outcome of a fight. A thumbs-down gesture from the crowd usually meant death for a defeated gladiator. However, the emperor had the final say, and he often based his decision on the crowd's reaction. Power and the people, the emperor, the mob, and the games. The gladiatorial games were intricately intertwined with Roman politics and social dynamics. For the emperor, the games were an opportunity to demonstrate his power, generosity, and connection to the people. By sponsoring lavish games and showering the crowd with gifts, the emperor could win their favor and solidify his position. The games were also a powerful tool for social control. By providing the masses with a regular dose of bread and circuses, I could distract them from the realities of their lives and quell potential unrest. The vast crowds that gathered for the games were a potent reminder of the power of the mob. I was keenly aware of the need to keep the populace content. A successful day at the games could translate into increased popularity and support for the ruling class. However, a dull or poorly received spectacle could just as easily spark riots and unrest. The gladiatorial games were, therefore, a delicate balancing act. The emperor had to appease the bloodlust of the mob, while also maintaining a semblance of order and control. It was a high-stakes game, and the consequences of failure could be severe. A shift in values, the decline and fall of gladiatorial combat. The gladiatorial games, despite their popularity, were not without their critics. Even during the height of the Roman Empire, voices of dissent spoke out against the brutality and inhumanity of these spectacles. Philosophers, writers, and even some politicians questioned the morality of staging such bloody entertainment. However, it was the rise of Christianity that dealt the final blow to the gladiatorial games. The Christian faith, with its emphasis on compassion, forgiveness, and the sanctity of life, stood in stark contrast to the violence and bloodshed of the arena. As Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, it gradually eroded public support for the games. In 325 AD, Emperor Constantine, a recent convert to Christianity, issued an edict banning gladiatorial combat. While this did not immediately end the practice, it marked a turning point. Over the next century, the games dwindled in popularity and frequency. The final nail in the coffin came in 404 AD, when Emperor Honorius officially abolished gladiatorial combat throughout the Roman Empire. The decision was influenced by a number of factors, including the declining popularity of the games, the rise of Christianity, and the increasing costs of staging such elaborate spectacles. The legacy of the gladiators. Though the gladiatorial combat eventually faded into history, the legacy of the gladiators lives on. These warriors, once symbols of Roman power and brutality, have become enduring icons of courage and skill. The Colosseum, once a stage for bloody spectacle, now stands as a haunting reminder of a bygone era. Millions of visitors flock to the Colosseum each year to reflect on the lives of the gladiators who fought and died within its walls. The stories of individual gladiators, passed down through history, continue to capture our imaginations. We remember Spartacus, the Thracian gladiator who led a slave revolt. The gladiators, in their own way, challenged the social order of their time. They were slaves who achieved fame and fortune through their skill and bravery. Gladiators in popular culture, from Hollywood to video games. The fascination with gladiators continues to this day, as evidenced by their recurring presence in popular culture. From Hollywood blockbusters to video games, gladiators continue to captivate our imaginations, their stories retold and reimagined for each generation. One of the most iconic portrayals of gladiatorial combat in film is Ridley Scott's Gladiator from 2000. Starring Russell Crowe as the vengeful general Maximus Decimus Meridius. The film captured the brutality and spectacle of the arena, while also exploring themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the corrupting influence of power. The success of Gladiator spawned a renewed interest in all things gladiatorial, leading to a surge in books, documentaries, and even video games set in the world of ancient Rome. Games like Rites, Son of Rome, and the Assassin's Creed franchise allow players to step into the sandals of a gladiator, experiencing the thrill of combat and the challenges of surviving in the arena. These modern interpretations of gladiatorial combat often take creative liberties with historical accuracy. However, they tap into something primal and enduring in the human psyche. Our fascination with competition, our admiration for courage and skill, and our morbid curiosity about violence and death. The Gladiatorial Games were a product of a specific time and place. They were a brutal and bloody form of entertainment that reflected Roman society. Yet despite their barbarity, the games hold a strange allure for us. Perhaps it is the raw courage of the gladiators that draws us. These men and women faced death with stoicism and bravery. Or maybe it is the spectacle itself that we find compelling. The games were grand events, full of pomp and ceremony. Whatever the reason, the gladiators continue to fascinate us. Their stories remind us of the fragility of life and the power of human resilience. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, check out some other videos. The gladiators may be gone, but their legend lives on. As we gaze upon the ruins, we are reminded of our own grand story.